Alright, so the motherboard I/O shield was just in another case box. You're going to go ahead and just push it into place. It's very simple. All you got to do is line it up and push it in. Once you hear a snap, you know it's installed and it's locked in place. So now we're ready to go ahead and put the motherboard in. Now to do this, just carefully align it with the back. Push it through the I/O shield. You'll notice that it's lined up inside. I'm going to go ahead and install these screws. Now these screws are included in the case box. Unfortunately there are no instructions, at least in mine there aren't any, but it's pretty simple to understand. You just take these four screws. Excuse me, these four screws. Typical standoff screws. I'm going to go ahead and install it. Just lock it into place and tighten it down. Now, the way that you want to do this is not have it too tight, but have it tight enough that the motherboard does not shift around at all. Mine is not seated 100% right, and it was chewing into the motherboard, which is not something you would like to do. So, get these screws all in. There's 4 of them to install, and I'll be back. Alright, so I'm back. I had some trouble with the fan being too tall for the case, that the hard drive cage would not fit in. So I've swapped it out for my Arctic Cooling Freezer 11 LP, and it should offer actually better cooling, and it's quieter as it has a bigger fan. So next we're going to go ahead and install the hard drive cage. I've already got a solid state drive mounted in the upper and the 3.5 inch hard drive installed in the lower cage. So we are ready to go ahead and install it. Now to do that, we're going to go ahead and slide the bottom cage onto the top cage. It's very simple. And once I'm ready to install it in the case, I shall be back. Alright, so we have it wired up. We got the hard drives installed. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the power supply. But before we do that, just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and plug the connectors in. This way, they're all ready to go when I'm screwing the power supply back together. So, being as this is a 24-pin motherboard, you gotta attach the 24-pin adapter, or add-on, I should say. Now, so before I go ahead and reinstall the hard drive base and DVD drive, we were going to reinstall the power supply and wire it up. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and take the power supply, get the cables all ready and sorted. I'm going to go ahead and take the 24-pin to start, get the 24-pin plugged in. This power supply has a 20 and a 24-pin lead with a add-on you can use. It's not sitting correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and clip it on, as you should. There we go. There we go. So the 24-pin is in. Next, we're going to go ahead and power the supplementary CPU connector, which is just in here next to the CPU. We're going to attach that. And the rest. Now, should you have a graphics card, which I do not in this case, you're gonna go ahead and use the 6-pin, or you could use the Molex, but I wouldn't recommend anything over maybe a 560 Ti for a 300 watt power supply. Maybe that, maybe not even the Ti version. It'd be pretty easy to check what the minimum recommended power for your graphics card is. So now we're going to go ahead, that's it for that. Now we're going to go ahead and get the hard drives wired up and installed. So I'll be back when we got that ready. Alright, so now that we have the hard drives and DVD drive powered and wired up, we're going to go ahead and install the front panel again and wire that up. So to do that, you just gotta feed the wires through the holes in the front and snap it back in. So I'll be back as soon as I have that all set up to show you how to install the front panel. Alright, to install the front panel, you're going to want to pull the refer to your manual, or if it's labeled on your computer motherboard, you shouldn't have a problem. Now, this case I'm using, they're all labeled very easily and they're all very simple to install. So you're gonna have to figure out which ones they go to and then plug them in. It's not actually that complicated. However, on some motherboards it's different than others. So I will be back, since I can't really doesn't really help me to help you to show you what mine are, in case unless you're using this case, which most of you probably aren't. So we'll be back once I have that ready. To save some time, I went ahead and wired up everything. But it's very self-explanatory. There's instructions in your manual on how to do it, and you should not, if you know how to plug a plug-in, have any trouble. So now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the actual power supply. And to do that, you just do the same way you took it out, actually, and take your screws, take your screws and just screw them in. Now, once you got this done, you're going to want to work on some cable management. Now, in this particular case, it's not going to be the simplest thing to do, as obviously it has got to be one of the smallest cases on the market. It really is tiny. But if you're looking for an HTPC, this is exactly the sort of case you're going to want, as it's tiny, won't take up a lot of space, and it's going to be quiet as it has one fan. Now, don't expect extreme record-breaking cool temperatures on a case like this. Just won't happen. You're going to probably have a very warm processor as well, and as long as you got a decent cooler, you should be more than okay. And make sure the fan still spins. Get a screwdriver. Now, in this case, a nice feature is there's a front area by the fan that will allow for some cable management, but honestly, that's probably as good as you'll get in any sort of manageable time. So, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the power supply bracket. This just helps hold up the power supply, as it does weigh a bit and you don't want it crashing down on your components, now do you? No, so actually the wrong screw. Alright, so final screw. And we're good to go. So, be back with the shells back on, and we'll